Am I the antagonist for bringing my sister-in-law's wallet to the restaurant when she conveniently always forgets it? My F28 sister-in-law Amy, F26, always comes to visit from out of town. She stays with us instead of a hotel and always wants to go to expensive restaurants. She always conveniently forgets her wallet or domes up with some excuses as to why she can't pay her share. She has implied that since I make much more money than her, I should be the one to pay. No, not my husband should pay, but me specifically. I do make a fair amount of money, but not so much that I can treat someone every time they come into town. Nonetheless, in the past, I have just paid the bill and asked her to pay me back. She never has. She had made a reservation at an extremely expensive restaurant last night, and before we left, I made it clear that I wouldn't be paying her bill. This is where I might be the asshole, and I'll admit I got this move straight from an episode of 2.5 Men. As we were leaving, her and my husband went to the car. I pretended I forgot something and went back inside. I found her wallet sitting right on top of her suitcase. I put it in my purse and we went to the restaurant. When we were done eating, I asked for separate bills. She said no, we need one bill, because she forgot her wallet again. I reached in my purse and said, "This wallet?" She was extremely furious. She said that I should not have touched or grabbed her wallet. So am I the antagonist for taking her wallet and bringing it to the restaurant? Edit. Wow, thanks for all the awards, geez lol. So many comments that I can't keep up, but thank you to everyone who had something to say. Edit 2. Amy just called me, she saw this post and she yelled at me for badmouthing her on the internet. Honestly, I don't care. Amy, hopefully reading all these comments is a wake-up call for you. NTA. Stone cold busted. Next time she books an expensive restaurant, just stand her up, and even better, tell her to find a hotel for her next visit. NTA, but you totally should have flipped the switch, left your wallet at home, only brought your license so she had to cover the whole bill, then never taken her out to a restaurant again. NTA. That was a boss move. But if you want to keep it up without getting accused of touching her things, when you're in the car, don't let your husband start driving until she shows you she has her wallet on her. You told her right up front, "I'm not paying this time." And she tried to push you into it. Honestly, I don't know why you keep going out with her. Cancel. Or insist your husband pays. Like, what does he say about all of this? Because he needs to have a chat with his sister about how she's abusing your generosity. Next time she stays and says there's a reservation, "Oh, hey, I hope you guys have a nice time." Yeah, I'm not going. I'm getting tired of someone who isn't my husband continuously trying to fuck me. Usually, I'm against people touching others' property, but in this case, well done. Be aware that next time she will be hiding her wallet, but maybe just refuse to go out to dinner if she didn't bring her wallet/card. Let her know if she doesn't pay she will not be going out with you and your husband, and make it clear that your hospitality is a courtesy, not an obligation. She's very welcome to stay in a hotel next time if she doesn't abide by the rules and respects you. Your husband's family might start harassing you after you establish the rules, so might be worth having a dialogue with your husband and having him be the bad cop. If the family complains, tell them that they are welcome to pay your sister-in-law's expenses, including past dinners if you have the receipts or bank statements. Your sister-in-law's an entitled brat. Am I the antagonist for kicking my brother out over a joke? I, 25 male, and my girlfriend Ava, 25 female, have been dating for 2 years now. And we recently moved in together. Due to the pandemic starting around the time we began dating, she'd never met my older brother Jared, 36 male, till now. For context, Ava was involved in a pretty bad car crash when she was 16. While stopped at a red light, she was rear-ended by a drunk driver. I've seen the pictures and they are pretty bad, so I'll spare the details. Ava made it out alive with a fractured hip, broken nose, concussion, and some pretty sizable scars. Because of the accident, Ava still goes to PT for her hip and has a bad memory. If it's not written down, it goes in one ear and out the other. Her words, not mine. Yesterday morning, Ava left pretty early for her appointment. She had forgotten her notebook at home, which has all her important info and lists for the day. So when she got home, she was shocked to see Jared in the apartment. It took a minute or so to remind her what was going on. When she remembered, she smiled and went to introduce herself to Jared. Jared laughed at her and said, "I didn't know you were dating the fish from Nemo. At least she's got a fatty." Ava was reasonably shocked by this and tried to continue on with introducing herself. Jared said he didn't need to know her name cause he was going to call her Dory. He then made a joke about Ava's scar. She was wearing a tank top, so you could see the scar going from her right shoulder down her arm. The second, Jared said that I got super pissed and kicked him out, telling him he wasn't welcome in our house and not to contact me. All day my parents have been calling and telling me I'm overreacting and should apologize and talk to Jared again. Ava is thankful I kicked him out, and our friends agree I did the right thing. I feel bad now. Like maybe my reaction was a little out of line and over the top. Am I the asshole? NTA. First of all, he is 36 and talks like that? Brew, you are not 16 anymore to have an excuse for talking like that. And second, he is the one who should apologize to you and your girlfriend, not the other way around. Even if he didn't mention the scar, everything else he said was also just so wrong, especially since they are technically complete strangers. The disrespect. You did great. NTA, is your brother a bully from a 1980s movie? Jared is a bully. He couldn't be decent when meeting someone you care about for the first time? I'd cut him out for good. NTA. Your brother is a huge AH and some other really choice words that would get me in trouble here. I'd go no contact with him over this. There is absolutely no excuse for his bad behavior. I'd tell your parents that they raised a bad seed, and if they keep defending him, go no contact with them as well. What kind of people enable such atrocious behavior, defend the horrible behavior, and the person perpetuating said bad behavior? Do apples not fall far from the tree? Or is he the golden child? Am I the antagonist for not sharing my grandfather's inheritance equally with the rest of my family? My 28 male grandfather, Dad's father, passed away a year ago, but the problems are happening now. My grandfather was a rough man and family stayed away from him. It wasn't easy to be around the old man unless you found your way around him. He wasn't mean, racist, or homophobic. He was just rough in his ways. He preferred to mind his own business and had a lot of trouble expressing himself, feelings. We found our way. It was easy but difficult at the same time. We just had to be direct, and he will try, but forget getting a word of praise from him, to play with you, or even a hug. Like I said, he was rough, but damn, he tried. That's how he was with me, and he was a bit more open with my sister. My uncles, aunts, and cousins would visit them, but they would take Grandma somewhere and never approach Grandpa. My sister and I were the only ones who actually spent time with him and talked to him. Which brings us to recent issues. To everyone's surprise, he had money and a bunch of properties. My sister and I received most of it. Everyone else received a sum of money. Uncles and aunt got more than my cousins, but still small compared to what my sister and I got. They are blasting us everywhere for not sharing everything equally. I'm certain the old man had his reasons. I know some of them need more of what they received, others are just being greedy. I don't know, I'm on the fence about it, but I'm inclined to not giving them more of what they were given. I get my grandfather was difficult, but to me there was no excuse to completely ignore him. NTA. Your grandfather gave out his inheritance the way that he wanted to. That's not your fault. Sounds like you and your sister were closest to him and he appreciated it. Money makes family weird. You don't owe them any explanations, and you definitely do not owe them anything you inherited. NTA. He didn't tell people about the money/properties for a reason. He didn't tell them so they wouldn't be fake nice to him for a bigger percent, and he didn't tell you and your sister so you'd get a nice surprise after his departure. He wrote his will and divided his assets the way he wanted. Honor his wishes. And I'm sorry for your loss. NTA, your grandpa gave the money to the two people he was close to and tried to build a relationship with him. If you give them the money, it would greatly dishonor your grandpa. These people did not try to build a relationship with him. They just walked away. You and your sister gave him the most important thing: love, companionship, and your time. His way of repaying you was making sure your futures were a little better. Seems your grandfather valued that you and your sister tried with him, and since the others didn't, they got nothing. Their decision to ignore him equated to a smaller inheritance. They are only valuing him now because he had more assets than they thought. He wasn't important to them when they thought he didn't have much. Don't give it to them. They are reaping what they sowed. Am I the antagonist for not supporting my wife's decision? My wife is a doctor and a pretty straight arrow. There's not a lot of beating around bushes or dancing around issues with her. We have one daughter who's 17 and she's just started her senior year of high school. She's always a bit above normal or above average, however you wish to phrase it, weight-wise, but over the course of last school year and this past summer, things have really escalated. My wife noticed, I noticed, we discussed it amongst ourselves and always left it at, she's a smart girl, let's let her deal with it, she'll make the right call. One morning last week, my wife noticed our daughter struggling to get into her school uniform pants, proceeded to come find me and said that this was kind of it for her and that she was going to do something. She asked my daughter to weigh herself, turns out she's about 75 pounds overweight. My wife proceeds to lay out the health risks of being this overweight to our daughter, things like high cholesterol, blood pressure, diabetes, etc. She goes on with saying that my daughter is going to need to diet and do some exercise. She proposed walks together as a family. This became a shouting match between them. My wife proceeded to say, "Your father and I," before I interjected with, "Your mother." My wife finishes by reiterating concerns. When it was just she and I alone as our daughter was heading out the door, my wife asked me why I'd dropped the ball in presenting a united front to our daughter. My point was that she never really collaborated with me to begin with, she just went upstairs and asked our daughter to weigh herself. We should have decided if that was the most nuanced thing to do. Am I the antagonist? ESH, accept your daughter. 75 pounds overweight at not even adulthood is definitely concerning, but this was handled in all the wrong ways. You were wrong to interject and make it crystal clear that you and your wife are not presenting a united front. Your wife was wrong to stick your daughter on a scale and assume the weight is coming from something simple, and to start lecturing her immediately. At her age, your daughter could be experiencing hormonal changes, the beginnings of PCOS, some kind of imbalance or autoimmune disease, or another potential underlying cause for her weight gain that is bubbling up with her approaching adulthood. She needs to be further tested, not just stuck on a scale and berated. Disappointing that your wife, a medical professional, didn't take a more nuanced approach, but the two of you have got to get on the same page for your daughter's sake. ETA, thank you for the awards. ESH, accept your daughter. How did you and your wife let this happen? 75 pounds is a massive amount of weight. Haven't you been encouraging her to eat well and be active? The issue now is that this is going to be framed as a weight loss exercise rather than simply living a healthy lifestyle. You and your wife fucked up here, I'm afraid. ESH, accept the kid. If she wanted a united front, you should have talked about it with you first, but you did kind of undermine her when you are also concerned. I'm not sure how the family walk, TM, became the go-to solution, but IMO, it's a recipe for further frustration because it doesn't really do much. Assuming you and your wife are the primary source of what she's eating, the two of you need to make your family's meals healthier, while still satiating. I'm not recommending some kind of starvation diet. In the meantime, she needs new pants. Ill-fitting clothes are physically uncomfortable and socially embarrassing. You and your wife have been the ones buying the groceries, right? Setting the rules about after-school commitments and bedtime so your teen gets enough sleep and enough exercise? Building a relationship with her so, if she's struggling with her body or eating, she feels safe to open up to you? Making sure she has a trusted pediatrician and gynecologist so she can actually get a full workup to rule out hormonal issues, because it's hugely unethical for your wife to prescribe diet and exercise without blood work and a full physical exam, right? Oh, wait, your daughter's ballooning weight is a result of either your laziness or unwillingness to act? And your wife decided to go nuclear instead of actually talking to her daughter? Am I the antagonist for not wanting my husband on the deed? I, 37 female, have been married to my husband, 38 male, for 10 years. We both worked good jobs, had a house with a mortgage, and otherwise lived normal lives until 5 years ago when everything turned upside down. My husband has always liked to gamble. It was never excessive. Poker night with the boys, a couple of trips to Las Vegas, the lottery, that was it. Or so I thought. Eventually, all the lies and the secrets came out. He'd been gambling, a lot. Online, illegal poker games, horse race betting, everything you could put money down on. He had secret credit cards, emptied our savings account without me realizing, and even took a loan out against the house, faking my signature to do so. Eventually, his brother convinced him to tell me. I'd always been good with money, I'd never been stupid, but I relaxed around my husband because I had no reason to believe he'd do something like this. We had to sell our house to pay off the loan and mortgage. We paid off some of the credit cards and bookies, but still had a mountain of debt. We even put off having kids because we were no longer financially secure. My dad, 72 male, came to our rescue. He had a decent pension enough to live on and gave me some of his savings to pay off the rest of the debt so we could rebuild. I had initially refused, but he said it was an early inheritance and I was desperate. My husband went to Gamblers Anonymous. He had to be completely transparent with his internet and phone usage with me and his brother. If he left to go out with friends, he would have to send a photo to show he wasn't gambling. I was strict because I said it was that or I left. He hasn't gambled in 3 years. He did slip just before the 2-year mark, ended up losing $1,500 at poker. He apologized, continued on the meetings, and nothing since. My dad recently passed, and with the sale of his estate and his savings, we have enough to buy a house again, with only a small mortgage. The issue is I don't want my husband on the deed. The idea of us losing everything again because he remortgaged/put a loan against the house terrifies me. I don't know how I would survive if we lost it all again. I broached the idea of just my name on the deed, and when I explained why, he called me an asshole, said I clearly don't trust him, and if I don't trust him, why am I still married to him? His brother also called me an asshole, said I've seen how hard he's worked and I need to forgive him and just move forward. Am I the antagonist? Edit, sorry, I should have made it more clear. Husband stopped gambling immediately 5 years ago, made it to nearly 2 years before the relapse, and has since been 3 consecutive years sober. NTA, it's your money from the inheritance, so you get to decide how to use it. The simple fact you're still married to him demonstrates that you've forgiven him and moved on. You've earned the right to protect yourself by keeping only your name on the deed. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. NTA, it's your money that you're using to buy your house. House is yours, only your name on the deed is good enough. NTA. It's one thing to live with a recovering addict, alcohol for example. It's another thing to provide them with access to a full bar. That's exactly what you're doing if you put him on the deed or mortgage. The stakes are too high, and if he cared about the future of your family, he would understand that. Do not give in here. He's using emotional blackmail to get what he wants, but what are you left with if he messed up again? There's no more safety net. He squandered that away the first time. No. If it costs you your marriage, then his intentions were clear and he wanted the option to gamble again, not caring how it affects you. Your dad's money is what bailed you out the first time, and it's his money that will allow you to buy this house now. How do you think your dad would feel if you used it to put yourself in a vulnerable position and give your husband easy access to it? Who's going to bail you out if you lose this house? 2 years is not long at all to have abstained from gambling. Your husband's ego is getting in the way of the reality that you are trying to protect both of you from his addiction. Don't put his name on the deed right now. Maybe you could add him in another 5 or 10 years if he's willing to stick around and put in the work. But right now, he doesn't deserve it. If he doesn't understand why, I don't think his Gamblers Anonymous program is working very well. Am I the antagonist for not wanting to pay for my wife's spending money? Throwaway because people who know me are on here. Before the birth of our daughter, my wife and I both worked full-time in low-middle earning jobs, with my wife earning a bit more than I, but not by much. My wife returned to work out of necessity when our daughter was 3 months old. Her mental health became pretty bad and she has a minor disability that makes work life a little hard, and she found it a bit worse after having our daughter, but we had to do what we had to do. My wife's nan, who sort of raised her and was her only family, passed away sadly when our daughter was 6 months old. My wife inherited everything she owned. It was a big inheritance. Not enough for us both to immediately retire, but a lot. Enough for us to buy a decent house outright, a new car each, and to put some away for a comfortable retirement. Shortly after her nan died, my wife stopped working and became a stay-at-home mom. Partially due to grief and struggles at her job, and a bit because she always would have preferred to stay home with our daughter. Thing is though, I'd rather not work and be a stay-at-home dad too, but I've been sucking it up because we still need an income to get by. My wife spoke with me recently about how to budget so we can live off just my income. She'd been dipping into savings to pull her weight, but that's all tied up in investments now. I said if I'm the one who has to work, and I'd rather not, I don't think I should have to spend my money funding her hobbies and spending money. If she chooses not to work, then she can buy clothes at the charity shop instead of new and get a friend to cut her hair for free, etc. Or she can get a job working a night shift or start an online business or something to fund her spending money. I don't see why I should have to pay for stuff like her sewing materials and gym membership, since I don't benefit from them and they're not my responsibility. I'm happy to pay for stuff for our daughter, seeing as she's my responsibility, so I don't think I'm being unreasonable here. I work 36 hours a week and I already pay for the bills and food. She said that's not fair if I get to enjoy my gym membership and hobbies like video games, but the difference is I'm paying for them with my money. My wife said her inheritance was worth more than if she spent her whole life working, and without that, both of us would be working anyway and having higher expenses from paying a mortgage and car loans, so I should count that as her contribution and share my money with her. Am I the antagonist? My money? Bro, you are married. Let's talk again about your money after you paid your wife for the cleaning she does, the laundry she washes, the meals she makes, and the childcare she provides. Oh, and the house and cars that were bought from her inheritance. You enjoy having a house and a car, don't you? Typical case of what's yours is ours, but what's mine is mine alone. Grow up. YTA. So you're happy to have a house paid by her, a car paid by her, her money in your investment account, and free childcare, but providing things that your wife needs is too much. YTA. So with her inheritance money she got you a new car, but you don't want to pay for her gym membership or sewing? Okay, give her back the car so she can sell it and use that to fund her hobby. YTA. You are a family, and it is your responsibility to care for each other. She's taking care of your child and you're expecting her to beg people for free haircuts? Humiliating. It's not like she blew her inheritance on needless things for herself. She bought you a house and a car. And she is investing it, assumingly for a good future life for you, your daughter, and herself. Be a partner.